So let's talk about the second section of the resume, which would be your career summary. Now, I know that some of you might use a different heading for this section. Perhaps you will use the term career objectives. In my opinion, I think that I would prefer to use career summary because I find that when you talk about objectives, it sounds a little bit self-serving. So it might be more relevant to the hiring manager to talk about what you have done in the course of your career that might qualify you to do the job that you're applying for, rather than to focus on what you hope to accomplish for your own career. The only exception, I think, where it might be preferable to use the heading career objectives is if you are a fresh graduate or if you have only a couple of years of work experience, in which case it is fine, right, to talk about more about your career aspirations rather than to talk about your limited work experience as a summary. So what do you actually include in this section? As a summary, I will first include a branding statement. So this will encapsulate, right, very clearly, very concisely, the most significant strengths that you have as a job seeker. So I've already done an earlier video about how to develop your personal branding statement. So be sure to check out that video. But just as a very quick recap, your branding statement should be a short but powerful paragraph that describes a combination of your most significant strengths as a candidate. So this would be about your relevant work experience, your accomplishments, your educational qualifications and training, as well as a couple of relevant personality strengths. So in addition to the branding statement, which can be in the form of a short paragraph, I will also suggest that you have a subsection that are in bullet points that specify the accomplishments that you have achieved over the course of your career. Now, when you are listing these bullet points, try to include data points, quantifiable numbers, so that your accomplishments would be more credible and convincing, and that you don't come across like you're just making grand motherhood statements and boastful claims, right? So you want to be able to substantiate what you have stated about your strengths, by putting in concrete examples of what you have achieved. So what are some of these data points that you can specify in the bullet points? So one, you can think about your KPIs. What are the key performance indicators for your job? Typically, different jobs will have very different KPIs. So let me give some examples, okay? So if, let's say, you are in administration, or if you are an office manager, you can mention how many departments or how many employees or managers you are supporting. If you are in marketing, what is the value of the marketing spend that you're in charge of, or the value of the campaigns that you have been in charge of? If you are in project management, how many engineers or contractors did you manage? If you are in production, what kind of production targets, what percentage of production targets have you been able to achieve? You can also talk about, for example, the quality standards, right? How many percentage of defects will you manage to achieve? Then in terms of, let's say you're doing research work, how many patents or research papers have you contributed to? If you are in customer service, you can think about, on average, what is your customer survey rating? If you're in logistics, how many percent of shipments were you able to ensure punctual delivery, right? So you can think about all these relevant KPIs for your job. A very useful source of information will be your performance appraisal report, as they would usually contain SMART goals with measurable targets. So refer to your performance appraisal for some examples of KPIs. The second thing that you can think about would be if there are any awards, any prizes, any letters of compliments that you might have received from both internal and external clients or customers, right? So they might be an indication of the extra mile that you have gone to in order to deliver customer satisfaction. The third area where you can actually talk about in the bullet points when quantifying your accomplishments, you can also think about the results that you have achieved for your bosses. So you could think about maybe in terms of the profitability, in terms of the sales revenues, in terms of the cost savings, in terms of the time savings, in terms of the manpower savings, in terms of the productivity levels, in terms of customer satisfaction level, or in terms of the number of customers that you've brought in or maintained for the company. So these are some numbers that you can specify under the accomplishments section.